As a child, I called it the flicker. There's one in all of us, glimmering and glowing in the most beautiful way, and no two are exactly the same. Before someone even enters the room, I know who it is the moment I catch a glimpse of their flicker. I never told anyone about this, except for my grandpa. My mom's job at the time had her in from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., so I'd always be at my grandpa's house after school. I trusted him more than anyone, and when I realized that not everyone could see the flicker, he was the person I confided in and spoke to, as I did with most things in my life. He never seemed surprised or confused, he just seemed interested and happy for me. We spoke about it fairly often. He'd ask me questions about it, or I'd ask him advice. It's a time I rarely miss. One piece of advice he gave me that I'll never forget is to never go to a graveyard. He never properly explained why, he just said people are greedy, living or past. It really stuck with me, perhaps because it was one of the last times I saw him daily. As my mom got a new job eventually during school hours, I still saw my grandpa after that, but less often, just not daily. My grandpa believed the flickers to be the souls of people. I didn't really believe it until last week. I was there when he passed away. He had been sick for a while, going in and out of hospital. Throughout it all, he remained himself. He'd make us laugh, he'd cheer us up, and he'd give us advice. He always just managed to have his wisdom-esque charm to him. Eventually, though, we all realized that the inevitable was not preventable. We knew what would happen. Sure enough, while I was visiting him in the hospital last week, he closed his eyes for the final time. I was there for a few hours and we spoke a lot. But in those final moments, not a word was said. He looked directly at me with confidence in his eyes, as if to pass his confidence on to me, and not a moment later, he was gone. The hardest part, and the part that cemented my belief in souls, was seeing his flicker disappear. It went out like a candle, but not as if someone had blown it out. It wasn't sudden. It went out as if it had been burning too long and wearing too thin. It was slow over many minutes, as if the wick of the candle had reached the bottom of the wax and was burning its final moments. The funeral was yesterday. Over the past week, since he passed, I've slowly lost my link with souls. By the time I was at the funeral, nobody there had a flicker. It felt so somber, for more reasons than it being a funeral. Today I wanted to talk to him about it. I felt myself over it all day, conflicted because visiting his grave would mean going against a piece of advice that always stood out to me. But in the later hours of the day, I decided to go to the graveyard. It was dark, and nobody else was there. Of course, at first, I thought it was just because I'm used to identifying people by their glow. But no, there truly was nobody there. I approached his grave and thought for a moment before speaking. The flickers are gone. I waited for a moment as if expecting to hear a response. I don't know why I stopped being able to see them around the time you left. I paused again as I opened my mouth. I noticed a faint glow in the ground. Then 2. Then 4. Then more. Most of the graves, though not all, had their own flicker. My grandpa's remained dark, but I still felt comforted, as if I was with him. The flickers rose from the ground and hovered in the air, moving slowly, circling me. At first I was confused, but thinking back to my grandpa's advice, I realized what he might have meant. These flickers didn't belong to the living, but to those who have passed. I'd never seen a soul from someone no longer with us. This was a very new experience. I pondered why some graves, my grandpa's included, didn't have flickers. Perhaps the ones left here have unfinished business, or perhaps they just chose to stay instead of leaving. Regardless, I felt that these flickers knew I could sense them. It's like they wanted to show me something, or maybe even needed my help, so I did what I felt my grandpa would want me to do. I walked up to one of them, and slowed down to a stop. It was like I was staring right at someone. "Lead the way," I said. "Show me what you need."